Hi, Taurus. This is Tisch Aitken, and this is your monthly horoscope for the month of June. As we begin the month, there are two planets out of bounds, which means that they exceed the sun's declination and that they are out of control and they do not play by the rules. Now, Venus, which is the ruler of your sign, stationed retrograde at 21 degrees of Gemini on May 13th in your house of money and income and what you value. And it will station direct on June 25th at 5 degrees of Gemini. And this is a big deal because Venus only retrogrades once every 18 months, and it retrogrades in this sector of your chart and in the sign of Gemini once every 8 years. So this is a big time of reassessing how you want to improve your value, earn income, rethink what you value, and to create how you want to create. It is very creative energy too, because when Venus did station retrograde, it stationed retrograde with a square to Neptune, which is the higher octave of Venus. It's very creative and altruistic on the higher form. It can be confusing on the lower form. And when Venus retrogrades, often old lovers from the past, friends, schoolmates, old co-workers, people from many parts of our life resurface. And so I would imagine that since Venus rules your sign, that you will find that happening. Now, the North Node of Destiny has just entered the sign of Gemini. It did so on May 5th. That's also in your house of money and income, and will be in that house, transiting there until January 4th of 2022. So that's also a big focus for you in creating and also finding how you can earn money in this new world. We had a historical lineup in Capricorn, and we are in a new world, and we are creating new value systems. Uranus is transiting in your sign, so you've been dealing with that kind of energy on some level for a while now. Mercury is in the sign of Cancer. It is transiting in your third house of beliefs and of ideas and thoughts and communication. And it's going to retrograde on June 18th at 14 degrees of Cancer. And that's interesting for two reasons, because it's close to the U.S. sun, which is 12 degrees of Cancer, but it's also going to oppose the third and final eclipse that takes place on July 5th. That's going to fall at 13 degrees of Capricorn, and is going to be in your ninth house of higher learning and faith and belief systems. So probably more information comes out by that final eclipse from this Mercury retrograde. So we have Mercury retrograding in Cancer in your third house of local events, ideas, again, hearing from a lot of people from your past, I imagine. And also it's a good idea for networking and reconnecting professionally for you with people from your past. We have a Venus-Sun conjunction that happens on June 3rd that also falls in your house of income and money, and that's an annual conjunction, and that's nice energy. And that's 2 days before the lunar eclipse that falls on June 5th at 15 degrees of Sagittarius. That is falling in your eighth house of intimacy. That's also a money house. It's a house of debt and taxes and joint resources and investments. And so it could be that there's a culmination, there's a fruition of maybe something you've been working on. Maybe you get a payout of some sort. It also could be that you're getting a little bit of a wake-up call, because eclipses do bring light to matters that we haven't seen or looked at before. They make us see things in a different way. They make us look at things and acknowledge things that we have to look at. So that's in your house of joint resources. And it's squaring Mars that day, so it's a bit of a combative moon. But again, there could be a fruition, something you've been working on financially, that maybe you do get some compensation. And then we have later in the month, we have the total solar eclipse, and it falls on the summer solstice. And the summer solstice is a big deal in and of itself. It's the longest day of the year in the northern hemisphere, and it's when the sun slows down a little bit for 3 days. It stops, and it's the beginning of a new season. And it's a total solar eclipse falls that day at 0 degrees of Cancer. And that total solar eclipse falls in your third house of thinking and ideas and belief systems. So this is a new moon eclipse is always a good time to set intentions and to plant seeds. Eclipses are like new moons and full moons on steroids, but nonetheless, so they're very erratic. But still, it's always a good time to set intentions on a new moon or on a solar eclipse. And the fact that it's falling in your house of communication, I think, underscores that fact even more. But this eclipse is it's intense because it hits everybody. Whether or not you have planets close to 0 degrees cardinal, it hits the whole world. It hits people in power, people on the world stage, and there'll be big events happening around that time. And then we have at the end of the month a Jupiter-Pluto conjunction that falls at 24 degrees of Capricorn and triggers that Saturn-Pluto conjunction that took place on January 12th at the beginning of the year in your ninth house of belief system and higher learning and faith, and restructuring your belief system perhaps, or maybe even thinking about going back to school or learning or all of that, and that is where this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is falling. There was one that took place on April 4th at the same degree. This is the second of the series. There will be a third and final one that takes place on November 13th. On November 12th, that will be at 22 degrees of Capricorn. That triggers that Saturn-Pluto conjunction exactly and is at the world axis. And this is a conjunction which opens the portals of consciousness. It's a very healing conjunction. It's excellent for business and partnering financially. It's excellent for healing and empowering yourself. And it's in your house of faith. So it's been a very difficult year. This will hopefully help you to tap into more faith and hope. And it's going to be a very busy month. So I wish you a lot of luck, Taurus. And thank you very much.